Hey there, everyone. I wanted to share with you today a musical skill that I believe carries over very well into our spiritual life, and that is the skill of practicing. John 8:34 says this, Jesus answered them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin." And on the flip side of the coin, Philippians 4:8-9 says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you." I often read these texts and just read right over the word practice without thinking about the implications of what that means. Practice is not something that we just passively do. We don't just wake up and all of a sudden we're practicing something, right? I don't wake up and I'm practicing trumpet. I don't just go about my day and all of a sudden I'm better at trumpet by the end, right? No, practice is something that I intentionally choose to do. I sit down with my instrument and I find the things that I need to work on or that I need to maintain, and I re-teach myself how to do those things. It's the same way with our spiritual life, whether it's practicing sin or practicing the things of God, right? When we practice the things of God, we begin to be more familiar with them. Just like when I play trumpet and I play a scale over and over and over again, or if I've got a difficult piece of music that I'm unfamiliar with and I keep messing up, if I do it slow enough and I do it over and over and over, eventually I refine that part and it becomes something that I can do without even thinking about it. All right, there are some things like a scale, right? I mean, I could do that without even thinking about it. Because I've done it over and over and over and over and over again. The problem with practicing, though, is that you lose it if you don't use it, right? So there are things on this trumpet right now, and I'm not going to show you because Elizabeth is currently sleeping, and if I tried, I would probably wake her up by scaring her. But there are things that I cannot do right now that I was able to do a year ago because I have not practiced as well as I should have. And it's the same way with our spiritual life, right? If we fall out of the habit of prayer, if we don't practice being in the scriptures, if we don't practice generosity or honesty or being pure or commendable or whatever any of these things are, then we begin to lose touch with them. They don't come as naturally anymore, and we have to work harder to do them or to muster them up when we need them, right? There's a trumpet player named Bud Herseth. He was the principal trumpet player in the Chicago Symphony for years. And he said, if I don't practice for a day, then I notice. He said, if I don't practice for 2 days, the person next to me notices. And if I don't practice for a week, everybody notices. Practice is important, whether it's an instrument, whether it's a sport or a skill, whether it's your job, whether it's our spiritual life. We need to practice. We need to keep doing these things so that our mind is continually aware of them and being retaught how to do them well. Now, the cool thing about practicing spirituality, it's the same thing as practicing an instrument. So I play a little bit of guitar as well, right? I'm not the world's best guitar player, but I can play some stuff, right? And there are certain skills on guitar that transfer to other instruments, or even on trumpet, right? So on trumpet, I know the theory behind the scales, right? So on guitar, I could, in theory, find those same notes and play those scales, right? Like, right? Just a major scale. That transfers over. I may have to use a little bit of a different muscle memory to do it, but that skill transfers over. Or even like from different stringed instruments, right? If I'm doing some finger picking, right? So that skill, even though it's not the same, transfers over. I recently was given a banjo, and I'm trying to learn how to play that. It is difficult, and it is different. The strings aren't all in the same place, and there aren't as many as a guitar. But those same kind of finger picking patterns fall into that, right? All right, so I can apply a skill even in a different situation that I've practiced before because I put in the time to make my muscles learn how to do that. It's the same way in our spiritual life. If we practice generosity, then we'll find that we're using a lot of the same spiritual muscles when we practice evangelism. When we practice memorizing scripture, then we'll find that we begin to pray scripture, right? A little bit different context, but the same skills go back and forth. And somebody who practices well, who is very skilled in prayer, skilled in the things of God, is going to be able to act the right way and to be close to God and to lead others to God, no matter the situation. That's our goal, right? As a musician, it's my goal to have practiced this instrument enough to be able to use it in any situation that I find myself, whether I'm playing this very fancy wedding or something and all this, high trilly Baroque stuff, or I'm playing with my buddies in a funk band downtown, right? I need to be familiar enough with this that it doesn't become a hindrance to me. I can just get it out and do what I need to do. We need to practice our faith enough to be able to do what we need to do, regardless of the situation that we find ourselves in. So I encourage you today, spend time in the Word, pray, all the things that you've been taught as you've grown up in church, right? Practice those things, and you'll find that they begin to become second nature to you. And if you've gotten out of practice, the great thing is, all it takes is a little bit of time, and it comes right back. We have been created and wired in a way to remember these things, to recall them if we've practiced them. So practice your faith.